How many of y'all had to grow up and not know what masculinity truly looks like? Or better yet, felt like you were kind of wearing a mask all the time, or almost living a lie when it came to people telling you like how to be a man growing up, or how to fit into that quote unquote tough guy leadership persona that so many people put on. And that's what we're about to talk about today. So I appreciate you guys coming back. Pattern interrupt, we talk about using my own experiences, habits, patterns that have shaped us into who we are, but those patterns need to be broken so we can become who we're supposed to be. And today we're going to talk about that like real strength doesn't necessarily come with being tough, macho, closed off, reserved. You know, being an emotional hermit like that stuff that a lot of us, who didn't have a father figure, a lot of us who didn't have not only a role model but a good role model to use as like that foundation. These, I'm gonna call them a false narrative of what we see in the media from family, friend groups, all of that. That's what we're gonna dive into today. And of course, this is always from my perspective, real life experiences. So that was kind of the biggest chasm in my life growing up, right? Especially being a young man of color and not having a father figure in my life for a long time. Of course, children are very self-centered, and I mean that in a way where, especially in early development, probably just we're just going to chalk it up to pre-high school, self-centered in a way that whatever outcome is happening in the world, they feel like it's a response to them or response to their actions. So when I was younger, there were questions of, is it my fault? My dad's not here. Is it because of me? All of that. Um, and in order to kind of fill that void, that abandonment trauma, um, that ended up leading into other things that I'm sure we'll talk about here in this series. Because I'm aware I'm not alone in that fact of how abandonment trauma has impacted us as young adults. Not to say I tried to fill said void of abandonment trauma with, well, I'm growing up, I'm getting older. What does it mean to be a man, right? My teachers, quote unquote, my resources, my information to pull from at that point had to, well, before he passed away, it was my great grandfather, of course, right? Probably the best man I have ever like truly known. But he was no longer with us once I hit middle school, probably entering the most critical parts of becoming a young man, right? Because we got high school right after that, and then college. So then I'm looking at leaning on to the media, TV, movies, especially young black men. The the macho persona, you gotta be an athlete or a gang member or act all hard and reserved and respond to everything with, you know, heightened uncontrolled emotions. I make it very clear this is far from the truth. This is far from how men of color are, men in general are, far from it. But I'm speaking in the context of this is what the media teaches us, right? And even like family and friend groups growing up at that same time, they're being shaped by this also. So when there's things that I excelled at, was interested, wanted to dive into, the intellectual part of my life, striving to get a better education, being more into my academics than an athlete. My artistic side, right? I used to draw a lot in high school. I did work as a graphic designer. I made logos. This was high school, early college. I would do stuff like that as a side hustle. I've always been really into music, curating playlists, mixtapes, all of that. I can yap about music all day. Um, in my later years, so like mid to late 20s, like fashion, interior design, um, rabbit holes about architecture, overall expressiveness in like the things I truly enjoy. That shit is not, excuse my French, from the, stereotypical expected lens. That shit's not masculine. That's not manly. That's not, why aren't you playing football? Why aren't you varsity JV? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you, out at all these parties? Why aren't you, flirting with all these girls all the time? Why aren't you, out socializing? This is kind of more like high school, college type type beat. After that, why do you hang out with who you hang out with and where you hang out? Why are you going to coffee shops? Why do you, just like the things I knew who I was did not align with those traditional, I don't even want to say value, they're not values, those traditional, I guess, set boundaries of what masculinity is. And coming back from college, there was a period of my time where I definitely felt like I had to overcompensate for that. I went, where I live, the the north side of town is more affluent, higher education, all of that, and we all know what traditionally comes with that. I went to high school with the white kids. Went to college in Boulder. I think it's like 96% Caucasian up there. So coming back from that, I felt the need to overcompensate, right? So the friend group I found myself with, I'm forever grateful for the experiences and the friendships and those memories that I had with them from probably like 2015, 2016, 2017. Um, Especially 2016. We all know about 2016. So that group of friends, I truly cherish those memories. There were behaviors during that period of time that, of course, were not, and I'm speaking in hindsight, were not, aligned with those things I just listed. Like I was out partying a lot. I was out drinking a lot. I was doing, you know, house party, um, claiming certain affiliations with certain people and all of that. And of course, people that know me now and even that truly know my interests, they're like, "What the like? That's not you, dog. Like you've never been into none of that, right?" So, but the group of young men I was hanging around, like I could see, the type of like energy they were attracting, how people talked about them. So I'm like, okay, cool. I need to do that too. Um, and that led to habits that ended up translating into my early 20s I ended up paying for a lot of that. Um, whether like monetarily on the legal side, things like that, of that pattern I formed in very short amount of times, right? I would continue a lot of the partying behavior, um, the performative aspect of, oh, this is working, like I'm getting people are starting to know who I am, I'm getting attention from women, getting my name out there. And I wasn't really like doing anything productive now that I look at it. And I think when that finally broke was my mid 20s. And this is probably a unique experience, but when I started to move away from that party scene and party mentality and being more open and expressive, especially on social media, about what I'm truly interested in. When I was like diving into music, posting about music all the time, posting about art, giving my opinions on this, on that, and blah, 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 going to music festivals, um, just like talking about things more, I guess, openly on a larger platform. What clicked and gave me the confidence to like continue to do that, to just continue to be who I am, is that the response was even larger than that life I was living when I felt like I was like putting on this mask, just to kind of overcompensate from, um, to make up for not being the most traditionally masculine, young black man at the time. So that response from people around me and the interest in like what I was doing and my unique perspective on stuff, that's what kind of cracked the code for me. Like what was I doing these last couple years, putting on this front, putting on this mask, doing all this just to be around these people, this type of environment. And I've just continued that belief up until now. Like of course, the people that know me, even now in my, late 20s, early 30s, where I've become very secure in, I'm just going to call it the less than traditional route, and especially becoming a father and stuff. People that I know now would not question like my strength and my masculinity. I don't even like using that word, but they would never question my value, like as a man now, my value as a father, my value as, like, none of that would ever come into question now. And had I not gotten the true strength and confidence to, just dive into the creative, the intellectual, the artsy, expressive shit that I really enjoy, and it be received so well, who knows what else I would have lost by keeping up that mask? Who knows how much that performative mask would have cost me? Who knows how much more like financial hardship I could have been in, how much legal hardship I could have been in, who knows where I would have ended up. Because the things that it costs, even up to that point, like I wouldn't want a child of mine to even experience that. I wouldn't want them to pay that karmic price that I've paid. I wouldn't change it because it's made me who I am. But all that to say, there is a cost to keeping up a mask. There is a cost to trying to live up to this expectation of what society deems is manly or masculine or this box you should fit in. There's a cost to that, and that cost is even greater when that doesn't resonate with who you are. And the real strength I found in it's more than the strength in being masculine, being a man. The strength in succeeding is being yourself when the world is telling you to be somebody else. And once that clicked, things have been falling into place. There's like a weight lifted. Um, I feel more comfortable starting more little like passion projects and just doing things that like truly bring me happiness without having to think about the optics of the world around me. And that's just what I want to leave y'all with is to so I'm a little bit of a Marvel nerd, but there's a quote from Captain America, I think Civil War, where Shannon Carter is speaking at Peggy's funeral, and the quote is, even when the world is telling you to move, it's your responsibility to plant yourself like a tree and say, no, you move. If I got that right, kudos to me. Sorry. Y'all let me know if I got that exactly right. I'm shooting a cool 90% on that. I know it. But anyway, don't don't let the world tell you who you are. Don't let the world tell you who you should be. You just be who you are, and it's gonna open the floodgates for you to become who you're truly meant to be, who you're put here to be. And that's gonna open a whole nother lens of finding your purpose, finding happiness, and all of that. But that's for another day. So please come back. Be looking forward to see y'all when we talk about that.